Daily Conversation for the Trades. I am your host, Christene Marie. We are talking about a third revenue stream for diversification. Y'all, the point of this conversation is that we open up more channels for leads to be coming in for cash flow. And we've been talking over the last 2 days, 3 days actually, around this topic. The first day, we identified how you, as a business owner, for the most part, we think of ourselves as either a B2B or a B2C business, business to business or business to consumer. And often it's a homeowner who's the consumer. And so when we're thinking in that vein, a lot of times we can actually self-isolate a certain channel. And for a lot of us, most traditional home service businesses think of themselves as a B2C business. And in that vein, we end up cutting off a potential 50% of revenue streams. And when we were diving into this, we were talking about a few different examples here. One particular example, which is actually my family painting business, it's 100 years old. And my dad has, yes, been going direct to consumer and direct to the homeowner, but he also has worked as a subcontractor. And what that's looked like is that 35, 40 years ago, he established relationships with a couple different general contractors in the community who they were taking on big jobs and they needed a painting sub. And he and his team came on to be a painting sub for this general contractor. And ever since then, they've been doing business together. And so, to that point, looking and being aware of where is there opportunity for us to, yes, still service the homeowner, but we're now coming in as a sub. And as a marketing perspective, so that's coming in from the family painting business perspective, but I've also done this for my own business as well, from the marketing perspective, where I haven't gone direct to client. I've actually worked as a subcontractor for some of these other bigger marketing brands and gotten to work with massive clients and companies. And that it expands your portfolio in some really big ways. It expands your own experience in terms of job size, where you get to come in and learn from kind of these head honchos. I got to come in and partner with and work with Amazon as a result of being a sub on a particular account. And so I also got to work with Hope Credit Union and work on a big political campaign. And it was just a really good opportunity to come in as a sub. And actually, no, with Amazon, I worked directly with a partner. They were a client of ours, and their client was Amazon. But the whole point that I'm making here is that in diversifying beyond going direct to the customer and allowing ourselves to be a sub for a bigger general contractor, it positions us in a way to expand our own portfolio, to not have to deal with the red tape and deal with all the details and all the big headache of the whole project in and of itself. And it also allows for us to just come in, come out. It's quick, it's fast, it's efficient, it's easy. Someone else is dealing with all the logistics. And now your back end office that would normally be doing all the coordination, all the scheduling, they're only doing it with one other project manager or even another back end office manager, where it's just that's their primary job. And you guys are both just connecting together rather than you trying to make the calls and make connection with the homeowner. And that can be such a headache. So, by way of us being open to additional revenue streams, it opens up so many more opportunities for growth. And so, we talked about the general contractor, whether they're direct to customer or even a general contractor business to business. So we've done a lot of work for general contractors in small restaurants, sometimes bigger restaurants, wineries, embassy work. And so us coming in and allowing ourselves an open ability for us to have these conversations to thus be hired by GCs has really expanded our own revenue streams. Hi, Brian. I'm actually going to get to that question in just a minute. Brian asked a really, really good question that we'll get to here before we wrap up the show tonight. How are you currently increasing business growth? Brilliant question. So I'll get to that here in a few minutes. The other revenue stream that we talked about is effectively taking advantage of your own personal brand. And a lot of folks in the contractor space do not think of themselves as having a personal brand. But I want to debunk that myth. I was speaking on stage in San Diego a year or two ago, and I asked everybody, raise your hand if you have a personal brand. Maybe 30% of the room raised their hands. Y'all, the reality is every single one of us, you and me both, have a story. We have an experience from ourselves, but also an experience that everyone has with us. Every single person has an experience whenever they encounter us. And the question is, what is that experience like? Are we intentionally shaping their experience? Do we have any clue what other people are experiencing when they encounter us? How much of who we are is shaped with intention by our own choice versus we actually haven't really done the work to consider much of who we are, much less so how we really show up. Are we living with intention? And all of those questions go into and contribute to this fact that you and I both have a personal brand. And the degree of its strength, the degree of its potency is contingent on the degree of work you and I have done on our personal brand. So anytime we develop personally, anytime we read a book around how to grow, anytime we read a parenting book, to be a better parent, but anytime we read a personal growth book, we're contributing to our own journey, to our own ability to love better, to show up better, to lead better. Y'all, every single decision we make today is contributing to the legacy we leave behind. And so we're creating legacy in real time right now, every moment. We're creating legacy. And the goal is that we do so with intention. And so, to that point, the more you and I can really leverage our brand, you and I, who we are, and start harnessing it for good and doing it in a way where we're showing up online in a way that, frankly, we can be seen and remembered. People are listening, people are watching. Our employees, our team members, our partners, our potential clients, everyone is listening. And y'all, it's for the good of our families because they're the mouths that we're feeding. It's for the good of our businesses. Again, mouths we're feeding, but also it can help expand it. And I'll get to that in just a minute. But it's also for the good of ourselves. It's a challenge. It's a challenge to show up with a courage and post on social media. And so we ourselves actually cultivate and get better in the process of posting and showing up online and leveraging our personal brand. When I talk about it's for the good of the business, I had somebody reach out to me. We had not spoken in over 2 years. He said, "Hey, Christene, I've been loving your posts on social media. Thank you so much for what you've been sharing. I have a business potential. I have a lead potential for your family business." It had been 2 years, but he remembered who I was, and I had been staying top of mind for him because I was posting regularly on LinkedIn. It took 2 years though, but that's turned into a really great partnership because it's recurring revenue, right? It's a subcontractor role. There's one other benefit with serving as a sub. Y'all, that is the mouth that feeds you. In so many ways. It's not just a one-time catch. Going after the end customer, you get them one time. Maybe you get them another time, maybe another, depending on what your service is. But for the most part, a lot of these customers, you get kind of that one large ticket sale, maybe every couple of years if you're lucky. But with these GCs, going and working with them, man, they constantly are giving you food on the table. It's really, really, there's a lot of return on that investment of securing that relationship. And then this last revenue stream that I want to talk about, and then I'm going to get Brian to your point. Y'all, building out a referral program. So not just a referral program, we talked about this as well. This is another revenue stream that we talked about the other day. Build it business to business, where you're going and bringing lunch or bringing breakfast and donuts to another service business and saying, "Hey, I want to talk to your team about who we are. I'm going to give you $50. Joe the plumber, I'm going to give you and your team, whoever brings the lead, $50 if you tell them about us as a painter." And then if they convert and they close and they actually become a customer, you get an additional $250. Now Joe the plumber and his entire company, each get easily, without doing anything other than handing your business card, a $300 cash just for a referral. That's freaking awesome. Who's not going to do that? So now you've got Joe the plumber. Every single home he goes into, he's telling them about you. That's that's exactly what we want. Now our footprint has expanded colossally because Susan King, the homeowner, is going to trust Joe the plumber way more than just Googling a review company online. So anytime there's a word of mouth referral is great. But the referral I'm talking about is with your own uh, uh, customers. Y'all, what is the quality of the referral program that you have in place for your own customers to tell about you? And how well are we doing to track when somebody comes in and says, "Yes, I was referred to you by Susan King"? Are we actually having the system in place to note Susan King is the source of this lead? Now I need to make sure that I have something set up, and you guys can do this with automations, but this is a question of the quality of your customer relationship system, your CRM. So do you have one, the ability to capture who the source is when you have the lead intake process? And then do you have a way, ideally, of not just memorializing it, but automating it so that that sends, if you type in Susan King and it's a former client, a lot of times I've seen it this way where it's a drop down menu and you want drop downs. It's just way easier for data management and reconciliation. Select referral, customer referral, and then you would put in Susan King's name. And whenever that fires, whenever that gets stored, that would fire an email to whoever on your team is responsible for sending out gifts or sending out the fulfillment of that referral program. They would get notified. And then they would either, ideally, you've got an automation set up, and y'all, there's gifting companies that you can set up relationships with where anytime that type of information is stored, it kicks over the information about Susan Kelly or Susan King, and then the gift would automatically be sent. But how much better would it be? This is like crazy. How much better would it be if the sales rep responsible for Susan King gave a phone call or sent a text and said, "Susan, I just saw that you sent us uh, Brene. Thank you so much for sending her over. She's actually really wonderful. And I just wanted to say a personal thank you. Frankly, I just wanted to give a little outreach. How's your family doing?" Keep up that personal relationship because you never know when Susan King is going to need you again. So having the ability to save the source of who was their ultimate referrer, having a process of, we send this, and here's the thing, you can actually have a referral program by size of the service done. So if they gave a referral to somebody who needed a $5,000 job done versus a $10,000 job, they would get a certain type of gift. You could always do something like that. But y'all, the goal is that we're doing something. So it's better to start with something simple than with something complex. Once you get into the habit of just starting and just doing it, then we can optimize it. I promise that these shows will be at or under 15 minutes. So I'm going to get Brian to your question. How are you currently increasing business growth? Right now, we're actually really focusing on optimizing the websites for answer engines. So right now, ChatGPT and Claude and a numerous other AI tools are starting to get questions over Google, and people are putting their queries there. And also, there's going to start being a lot of advertising in those places. So I want to make sure that my family businesses and other marketing or other trades businesses that we do marketing for, that their website content is showing up in these answer engines. And so that's so incredibly important that we're doing the work to prepare the websites now in advance before it's kind of too late, because our competitors are at some point going to start doing this. But any trades business that can get ahead now by preparing their website to be found, yes, organically on Google, but also organically on these answer engines. They're going to be so far ahead. But you actually have to prepare the content and adjust the content today to be able to kind of be prepared for the future. It doesn't automatically do that. So, y'all, I'm at my 15-minute mark. Thank you so much for joining me today. I will see you tomorrow on Foundation First Marketing.